Hey guys, what's up? I'm back and I want to talk today about this nice little controller. And when I say little, it is definitely little. From a controller from Hori for your PlayStation 4. Now, what makes this controller special is, to be honest, the price. It retails for about $30, and in the UAE where I live, it's about 125 dirhams. So, about more or less the same thing. And this controller is actually marketed by Hori towards kids. They call it the mini controller, and their whole gimmick is this is for kids, and you don't need to spend a lot of money to get it. Now, I I was thinking about it. I saw it, and I said I checked some reviews online, and some of them were saying okay, some of them were saying not okay. And personally, sometimes I believe you need to test things for yourself, right? And if someone's reviewing something, I always like to hear what's good and bad. And sometimes reviewers don't talk about this because I see a lot of polarization. Anyway, I digress. I'll tell you my opinions about it, and then you can draw your own conclusions. Now, the first thing you need to know is, why would you want something like this? Now, most people who own PlayStation 4s either have the regular DualShock 4. This is the Pro version, the newer one. So it comes with a redesigned triggers, and it comes with that light pad on the bottom. Or you have a limited edition controller. And most people will have one or two controllers. Now, if you play a lot of multiplayer games like I do, or have people over, or you have kids like I do, you will eventually have the need to have more controllers. And the thing is, if you have limited edition controllers, would you want your kids messing up with them? Especially, kids sometimes they get rough, they throw things around, and then maybe like personally, I think the wear and tear increases much more with more people playing, right? So you wouldn't want your kids or even sometimes your guests playing with your limited edition controllers, right? And either you buy a new DualShock controller. They're not cheap. They average $50. In the UAE, it's about 200 dirhams, right? Now, this makes a lot of sense. One is because it's so cheap, you don't worry, right? And this isn't going to be your primary controller, right? This is going to be the controller you give to your kids to play with, or you give your guests to play with. And to be honest, I tested it out personally. It does the job very well, right? Now, first things first, what are the main differences between this and the DualShock 4? Well, basically, it's wired. Now, you don't have to worry about the length of the cord because it's good enough, right? As you can see, there's my PS4. This is where I am. It's about, I think, 3 meters long. Well, that's about 9 feet. Yeah, so it's a good long wire, right? It's physically smaller than the DualShock 4 because, again, like I said, it was made with kids as the intended target market, right? But honestly, I tested it out. It's not so bad. You can adjust to it because, I mean, let's face it. With the SNES Mini and the NES Mini, we played with the old retro controllers and we were fine. Right? They were much smaller than today's controllers, so we're fine. So I believe as a gamer you can adjust to the controller. What we're more worried about is the durability and how good are the buttons, feedback, etc. Right? So size, that's my opinion. In terms of weight, obviously, because it doesn't have most of the electronics in it, it doesn't have vibration. right? So obviously it's going to be lighter than your DualShock 4. Other than that, right, this is a pretty solid controller. Oh yeah, before I forget, you'll obviously notice there is no touchpad. There is a button to emulate the button press, and in theory you could, if required, press this button and then use the dual analog sticks to emulate motion of the touchpad. But to be honest, not many games today have touchpad controls anyway. It's a nice gimmick, but no one uses it much. So most people just have analog controls or D-pad controls, right? Now in terms of analog and D-pad, that is very good in this controller. I personally tested it with Street Fighter, and I was able to, pull off most of my combos. It takes a bit to getting used to again, because the D-pad's a bit different, but I could pull off most of my combos, no problem, and as I played a bit more, I got more and more comfortable, right? You can also, I would also recommend this pad, besides fighting games. I would recommend it for stuff like PES, football type games, FIFA, etc., especially when you're having multiplayer sessions, right? Because all you need there is the D-pad, the buttons, and you're done. So this has all the buttons, so there's nothing that you're missing. The only type of game I would not recommend with this controller is a racing game, because for a racing game you would need the trigger functionality for the accelerating and braking, and obviously this does not have it, because this will be just a digital signal of either on or off, right? So this is not going to be good for you to play a driving game. Now maybe something like Mario Kart, I think, but or similar on the PS4, but fighting games, platforming games, maybe Crash Bandicoot would be good with this as well. Football, soccer, whatever you may call it. Right? These are games that are good, and that's the market for this multiplayer controller games, and you're done. So would I recommend it? Definitely, man. I mean, in theory, you could get two of these for the price of almost for the price of one DualShock. So if you have kids or you have people who come over and you guys have multiplayer fighting game sessions of football, sports game sessions, or platforming games, this is something I would definitely recommend. Right? The only thing you need to one other caveat that this controller has is you cannot switch on your PlayStation with it, so you'll have to use either your regular DualShock to switch on the PlayStation, or you physically, go and turn it on. Other than that, it's a perfect controller, and I'd really recommend it. Hori make good controllers, right? They know their stuff, so this is something that you should definitely look into if you have the same problems that I mentioned. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Until I see you next time.